whenever you are ready, I would invite you to settle in. Just really allow yourself to arrive into this moment, honoring the fact that you have set aside time, you've stopped all the doing, all the activity, you've chosen to show up and just really enter into this present moment. Maybe you come with expectations, maybe you come with none, maybe you come with curiosity, maybe you come really tired. But just really honor the fact that you have come, whatever that looks like and feels like for you. And so in an effort to really just honor both the showing up as well as this present moment that we get to just dwell in, one moment at a time, let's turn our attention to our breath and just very gently take a slow, deep breath in. And just as gently, without rushing it, exhale, let it go. A gentle breath in. And a gentle breath out. Slow in. And slow out. Just let those breaths just really usher you into this beautiful space that you've chosen to be in. It's not so much about the physical spot where you have landed, but that you are in the space of this present moment. Just notice how it feels. We most definitely know how it feels when we're rushing, when the world is loud and the expectations of others are so many. But how does this feel? Notice that. And this noticing is so perfect for this piece of the Yoga Sutras where we have landed tonight. The idea of Svadhyaya. Svadhyaya. And anytime you see a word in Sanskrit or you hear it, it's got this svel at the beginning of it. It means it's talking about the self. Not the self of who we are in this ego way, with all of our quirks and personality pieces and histories, but rather this big S of the self, this universal self. The idea of self that connects me to you and you to me and us to people that we have never met or even laid eyes upon. But this idea that internally we really are all the same. And so Svadhyaya is the study of the self. We're really good at studying others, at watching how they drive, watching how they move through the world, watching what they post on social media, and so on and so on. But how often do we really practice, truly practice, studying this idea of self? And so today we're going to practice that. We're going to practice it on a few different levels, because most of the translations of this particular Yoga Sutra will tell you that the more you study the self, the closer you get to the self. The more you study the self, the more you understand the self. And then if you begin to realize this connection between all of us and this universal self that's a part of each of us, the more that we study that, the more connected we are to one another. And that may be too big of a stretch for if this is your first time to think about Svadhyaya, but maybe it's something you could at least consider. The more I know and understand me, the more I will know and understand others. The more time that I spend, the more grace that I extend to me, the more time that I'll want to extend and spend, and the more grace that I'll want to give to others. It really becomes just this beautiful ebb and flow of how we live. But for today, let's focus on the self of us. And so I would invite us all just to take these next few breaths as I grow quiet and just notice your thoughts like you're studying them. Just watch them. Take stock. just kind of notice what that feels like. To actually pause and study your thoughts. And then the question comes, can we study it without judgment? Can we study these thoughts impartially and truly just see them? So often the thoughts come and we want to label, we want to assign, we want to judge or criticize. But what if we spent some time just watching them, studying them? I always picture the National Geographic photographers and how patient they must be when they're on assignment and they're trying to catch this one image, this one video of that one animal that they've been studying and learning about for many of them years. And they find their way into the jungle or onto the savannah with their equipment, and they just sit still and they watch. They watch as it comes across the landscape, as it eats, as it goes through its patterns and its habits, and they just watch. They don't rush in, they don't change the scenery. They just watch. What if we could approach ourselves with that same patient, slow watching? What would we learn about ourselves? Because I have to believe that these National Geographic photographers, while they have studied the books and they've read all the sites, they've taken the biology classes, they've learned all the things they must learn, nothing quite compares to studying right there in its natural habitat. Watching, noticing, marveling. Could we not give the same consideration to ourselves as we go through our day in our natural, normal setting, in our busyness, in our quiet moments, in our chores, as we drive? Could we begin to really study ourselves? Study the way that we interact with the world. See it. Watch the way we interact when traffic gets tight and slows down. Study the way that we are when the world grows quiet and the activity lessens. Are you willing to get to know yourself on that level? You can't just read a book and study a text and know yourself. You have to spend time doing it. To look upon yourself with the same wonder that I would imagine those photographers do out in the savannah and in the jungle. With wonder. To just watch. How would that feel? What would you discover? And would you be able to take all these discoveries and learn from them without judging them? Sometimes as we watch and we study ourselves, it affirms the things that we know are in our heart because we watch it carrying out in our actions. And sometimes as we watch ourselves move through life, we realize that there's a disconnect between how we're moving and what we know to be in our heart and in our soul. I had an example of that this morning. I was in a hurry. I had things to do and places to be and schedules to keep. And I walked into an office. And this precious human being asked if I was in a hurry today. And I thought, what had I done in the past that would need or make her feel like she needed to ask me that? Was I impatient the last time that she met me? Did I project this idea that I'm always rushing? And for just a moment, my heart broke for a second as she asked me that seemingly benign question. And then I realized I can't be disappointed in myself. I can't judge it. I need to just take this lesson of me studying myself and use it going forward. So I was very intentional with how I interacted for the rest of my time there in that office. I tried to be thoughtful and patient and gracious and authentically represent what I know is in my heart. But in years past, had someone asked me that and I realized the why of it, I would have been so hard on myself, so frustrated with whatever I had done to make her think that I was always in a hurry. And so over time, as you study yourself, you will begin to truly just take it in, to learn from it, and then to keep moving forward. I didn't sit and stew and worry about it. I just took it in and got a little more intentional about how I moved through the day. That is Svadhyaya. You watch as you move through your life. And when you notice there's a misalignment between what's in your heart and soul and the version that the world is getting, without judgment, you notice and you become a little more intentional with your next steps, with your next words. Because what Svadhyaya is teaching us is not just about us, but about all of us. And so let's just pause for just these next couple of moments and just think, are you willing to sit with yourself and watch with patience, with wonder, and with no judgment? Just taking it all in, learning from it, and letting it allow you to live with a little more intention, the next step, the next thought, the next word. Until all of a sudden you feel so connected to who you are that it just bubbles out. And you're so aligned between what's in your heart and the things that you say and the ways that you move in the world. But we'll never get to that without Svadhyaya. We've got to sit with ourselves. We've got to study. We've got to watch. And so let's just sit with this idea of our willingness to do that. Take slow breaths in and out and just pause here. And as you continue to breathe, we prepare to close our time Going back to those translations that say, the more that we act in Svadhyaya, in self-study, the more we know ourselves. The more we engage in Svadhyaya, the more we understand ourselves. And the more that Svadhyaya becomes a natural part of our practice, the more union and harmony that we feel between what's inside and how we live. It's not meant to make us feel guilty. It's not meant to tell us all the places where we're doing wrong. It's just study and observation. Try it as you go through the next few days. Get to know yourself on that level. See how you move through the world. See how it aligns with your heart. And then in the next moment, live with a bit more intention, with a bit more connection to you. Because ultimately, as we practice that often enough, it begins to connect us to one another. Namaste.